here we are talking about a whole bunch of teams around the NHL and a supposed bidding war that has been started up for a guy who is described as having aura. Yeah, we are letting the brain rot TikTok Gen Z lingo seep into this video, baby, because today we are taking our conversation and sights over to HC Kometa Brno in the Czech League, where one Michal Postava takes the stage and puts himself on the map as an NHL potential signee. Let's dive into the update here because we got a whole bunch of teams that are apparently in the mix for Postava. He's 23 years old, 6'2", 205, a left-handed catching goaltender whose contract with the Kometa Brno team seems to expire next year. I'm not too sure whether or not that means right now he is eligible to sign an NHL contract, but that's just what Elite Prospect says here on their website. We will dive into the scoop as to why we are talking about Postava in the context of NHL teams here. But this year with Kometa Brno, the 23-year-old had himself a .921 save percentage in 42 games played in the regular season and a .940 save percentage in the playoffs. He went 10-7, they won the championship, and he had himself a stellar .197 goals against average in this 17-game sample. Postava was a goaltending monster, and he ended up beating Dynamo Pardubis in Game 7 with a 3-0 shutout to seal the deal and get the championship. This guy was on top of the Czech hockey world, and the latest update we had seen from one Ground.News is actually posted by the Czechia folks 2 months ago. It goes out there and talks about how Postava potentially may have a similar path to the NHL as one Lukas Dostal. The reason we're not going to dive into this article is because it's behind a paywall. You really need to subscribe to whatever Czech sources are here in order to read the piece yourself. But if you've been paying attention to NHL goaltenders of the past few years or so, you would know that Lukas Dostal with the Anaheim Ducks is one of the better ones. He's young, he's talented, he is going to go out there and make some damage throughout the course of his NHL career. Could Postava follow in that mold? Can he be the next elite young goaltending prospect like Dostal was? Let's go over onto an article on Detroit Hockey Now that talks about this Czech goaltender and dives into the other teams that are pursuing him. This will also be linked in the description. It's a piece by Bob Duff from Detroit Hockey Now, May 30th, and it goes out there and describes how the Red Wings could use some extra goaltending depth. We need our goalies to stop the puck more. That was Steve Yzerman's blunt assessment of his club's netminders. Overall, I think as a team, our save percentage was near the bottom third of the league. 22nd, or somewhere rough in there. Yzerman was dead accurate in that assessment, as Detroit's team save percentage of .889 was 22nd in the NHL during the 24-25 season. This is why the article goes out there and describes Postava. Duff writes here that Yzerman has potentially already started to cast his eye on the available European goalies. Already, Detroit has been linked to Arvid Holm of Rögle. He was named a top goaltender in the Swedish League this season. Now, the Wings are also being reported as among the NHL teams pursuing Michal Postava in Czechia, backstopping Kometa Brno to the championship victory there. The way that Czech opponents talk about Postava reminds you in the matter of which another Czech goalie who also played for the Red Wings, Dominik Hasek, could get in the minds of shooters. I think he has some kind of aura around him. Pardubis forward Jan Mandat told Czech website iDNS Sport. Hats off to what he had managed in his first Extraliga season. He absolutely deserves the title. He is a specific goalkeeper. He goes out a lot and he can make players uneasy. At first, you wonder how much space he has offered you, and suddenly he is there. He's a great goalie, and he covers a lot just by standing in goal. He doesn't have to make any major saves. Along with the Red Wings, the Oilers, Utah Mammoth, and Seattle Kraken are also reportedly chasing Postava. So yeah, there we go. We have 4 teams here, all chasing a guy who, in some ways, is being compared to Dominik Hasek, but I don't want to ever hold a young goaltender to that level of a standard. I think Lukas Dostal, while still a very high standard, is a lot more attainable than being the best goaltender the NHL has ever seen talent-wise, but Postava, with the aura surrounding him and how he is capable of getting into the minds of shooters, this is a guy who definitely brings a unique element to the goaltending position. For Detroit, they could use the shakeup. It wouldn't be a bad thing to see a new face, another name, another challenger for the crease long-term to be tossed into the mix. Sebastian Cossa is fine. Trey Augustine is fine. But we don't have much of the guarantee as to who is going to be the long-term guy for Detroit just yet. You know for sure it's not going to be Cam Talbot. That guy's already kind of a dinosaur. Meanwhile, you talk about the Utah Mammoth. I have to really start getting used to saying that. They have Karel Vejmelka. They had Connor Ingram. They had a bunch of guys that were rotating around. Jackson Stober also. What an interesting name he was with his very limited NHL stint, but also incredible save percentage and statistical performances. I don't want to believe that Jackson Stober is going to be a full-time NHL goaltender anytime soon, but he has had some really good games here and there with the Utah... I was about to say the Utah Hockey Club. Nah, the Utah Mammoth, they are now called. But ultimately, there are a number of names that can be tossed around there in Utah. Edmonton... I mean, look, if the Oilers are being linked to Postava, they might want to take a little bit of a back seat in that discussion because they definitely are not focused on that, signing a European goaltender at this very moment. For some reason, Stuart Skinner has that Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type syndrome where he will all of a sudden put up 5 shutouts in a row and then let in 5 goals in the first period of the next game. It is so weird, the ups and downs that he has exhibited. But one thing's for sure, him and Cal Pickard have been carrying the load that is necessary for them, and it's been looking pretty good for the Oilers team that has now won 12 out of their last 14 hockey games, suiting up in the Stanley Cup Finals next week. The Seattle Kraken also being involved here, chasing Postava down, makes sense. They are always looking for some more goaltending support, especially since they cannot seem to rely on Philipp Grubauer anymore. He was just not available as much as he should have been or could have been for the Seattle Kraken. Missed out on a good chunk of the last part of the year, then suited up for Team Germany at the World Championships. To be fair, he looked pretty good. He had a .930 save percentage over there in the sample he played. But you can't really rely on him too much. He's 33 years old. He's heading towards the tail end of his career, and he's making a pretty decent dollar amount heading into the next 2 seasons. The Kraken also do have the Joey Daccord show starting up there. He was really underrated this season. I do think that there is value in Daccord, but if they want to get a younger guy that can be that prospect in tight in the American League or kind of bubbling around the backup position, maybe Postava can be that guy. So with all this in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the latest scoop that this Michal Postava is available and garnering interest from NHL teams? What are your thoughts on the Red Wings, the Oilers, the Kraken, and the Mammoth as being potential suitors? Let me know in the comment section all your opinions about this potential bidding war here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.